The night of October 25, 1994, began with a chilling call to the Union County Sheriff's Office. A young woman, frantic and tearful, claimed the unthinkable had just happened. Her name was Susan Smith, and she reported that her car had been hijacked at gunpoint by a black man. The perpetrator, she screamed, had driven away with her 2 young sons, 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alex, still strapped into the backseat. This manufactured horror instantly gripped America. A massive search began, fueled by the image of a distraught young mother pleading for the return of her innocent children. Susan became a national figure, appearing on television with a mask of manufactured despair, her voice shaking as she begged the supposed kidnapper for mercy. For 9 agonizing days, the country held its breath, mourning the terrifying possibility of an armed abduction. But the true terror was far closer than anyone realized. The first victim of Susan Smith's lie was not her children, but an entire community. Her fabrication of a black assailant sparked deep racial tensions in Union, South Carolina, directing suspicion and hatred toward innocent individuals. While the public sympathized, investigators noted disturbing inconsistencies. There were no witnesses, no physical evidence, and the geographical details of Susan's story simply did not hold up under technical scrutiny. Detectives began to see through the facade. Her behavior was erratic, switching instantly from tearful sorrow for the cameras to unnerving calmness the moment they stopped rolling. When confronted with 2 failed polygraph tests, the mask began to crumble. Sheriff Howard Wells, after days of unrelenting pressure, finally confronted her, stating plainly that he knew she was lying. And then, the true horror was unleashed. After 9 days of national deception, Susan Smith confessed to the unimaginable. She had driven her Mazda protege not to be hijacked, but to the isolated boat ramp at John D. Long Lake. She quietly exited the car, walked to the back, and instead of taking out her children, she released the parking brake. Michael and Alex, strapped and helpless, were sent plunging into the cold, dark water. Susan simply watched as her car, carrying her sons, sank beneath the surface. Her motive was utterly devoid of maternal instinct. It was rooted in selfishness and romantic obsession. She had been rejected by her wealthy boyfriend, Tom Findley, who wrote a crushing letter explaining that he did not want children. To Susan, her beautiful sons were not blessings, but inconvenient obstacles standing in the way of the life she desired. She chose a future with a man over the lives of her babies. The trial in 1995 was a confrontation between pure evil and calculated manipulation. The defense argued mental illness, deep depression, and a history of abuse. The prosecution focused on the cold, calculated nature of the Actaplan drive, the release break, the 9-day performance. The jury found her guilty of 2 counts of murder, though the state pushed for the death penalty. The jury ultimately recommended life imprisonment, a sentence that allowed for parole eligibility after 30 years. In the confines of prison, the manipulation did not stop. Smith quickly adapted, forming sexual relationships with prison guards, one of whom was subsequently fired and jailed. She continued to receive fan mail and financial support from sympathetic strangers, allowing her a measure of comfort even after committing one of the most monstrous crimes in modern history. Justice, however, is a long and winding road. In November 2024, 30 years after she sacrificed her children, Susan Smith became eligible for parole. She appeared before the board, weeping, apologizing, and attempting to resurrect the same manipulative performance that failed her decades earlier. But this time, her former husband and the father of the victims, David Smith, was there to oppose her. He delivered a powerful statement, reminding the board that this was not an accident, but deliberate, premeditated murder. The parole board saw through the facade. In a unanimous decision, they denied her freedom. Susan Smith will remain behind bars, scheduled for her next parole review in 2026. The water may have taken Michael and Alex, but the lie that submerged them continues to haunt the woman who cast them away.